You know, we had our own thing going on here in the Adirondacks. You know, we just kept pushing the limit and seeing how much steeper we could ski on these skis. You know, things that people thought were unskiable, and we were able to ski them on these skinny skis. You know, it's just what we did. It's what we practiced. We were in the woods a lot. We were all fairly young. You know, skiing every slide in the Adirondacks that existed at the time. You know, skiing every drainage. It was just something that we wanted to do. And it wasn't like it was publicized anywhere. It wasn't that there was no Facebook, there was no any of that. So we would just do it and not really tell a lot of people. People kind of heard about what were doing. They'd see our tracks. There would be occasional magazine articles when people would contact us and want to write about something. But most of them it was pretty much under the table. So when we were skiing Marcy in the 70s and 80s, we were using kick wax. You know, this is just Blue Extra kick wax, and we had really skinny climbing skins, but you know, on the approaches we would use kick wax, even sometimes all the way to the top if the conditions were right. But you just kind of cake it on. Obviously the skis were a lot narrower. We were on XCD-JTs. These are Volet Vectors, and yeah, so that's kind of what we used back then. It was Carhoos and truckers and skis that kind of don't exist anymore. Lovett skis were made by EMS. It's all we had at the time as far as technology went. It's either that or kind of a 10th Mountain Division heavy duty downhill ski. So this is the ski that I used the most in the 1980s when I was skiing many of the Adirondack high peaks. And this is the Carhu XCD GT. This one is a 205. I also had a pair of 215s. You can see the really narrow climbing skins that we used. And so they actually made climbing skins this width. We didn't cut these. This is the way they were. And we would buy these climbing skins, and we'd use wax. And this is actually the boot that I used to wear. This is an Asolo Snowpine, it's called. It's kind of like a hiking boot with a duckbill on it. And this is the Rodefeller 3-pin binding. And so this was the ski that we would kick and glide in on the flats and then skin up with and take the skins off and ski down. Pretty crazy when I think about it now. You know, personally for me, I'd rather be on a pair of telemark bindings because I can move a little bit easier. I don't have to switch in and out of tour mode all the time. You know, a lot of people who are used to AT bindings or downhill bindings much prefer the AT bindings. I personally like having a telemark binding. I think they're more efficient in the Adirondacks, mostly because of the approaches are so long. You have to go in a long ways, and many times it's up and down and up and down. You know, it's not like just a flat approach and then straight up and straight down. You're going up a hill and then downhill and up a hill and downhill, and that might be going on for 5 or 6 miles before you even get to the mountain that you're going to ski that day. So it's a lot of approaches, it's a lot of kicking and gliding, going in and out, using kick wax rather than climbing skins. And so I much prefer a telemark ski. So this is the Atomic Tour Cap. This ski was one of the first cap skis. It's a 190 length. This is a ski I was skiing on in the probably mid to late 90s and early 2000s. The day I finished my ski round on Allen, this was actually the ski that I was on. It was a little bit wider than the XCGTs, a little shorter, still at 190. And this was also the same ski that, ironically, I was on in the avalanche of 2000. But these are the skis that I ski on now in 2020. And these are the skis I've probably skied on since 2016. So you'll notice this binding doesn't have any 3-pins. The XCD-GT has, there were 3 little holes in the front of your boot, and there were pins coming up. This binding, you're held in place by this cartridge, this cable, and the cable actually has springs in it, so it'll pull out and pull, give you a little bit of tension, less tension. So it's a spring-activated cable inside of here, as opposed to the skis we were on before. It was just a simple 3-pin binding with a leather boot and no cable. Sometimes your foot would twist and the leather boot would pop right out of the binding. Or if you fell hard enough, you might actually bend the binding, and the ski would come off. But these guys, you could come out of these, I guess. I never have. Quite a contrast. It's made it a lot easier for people, actually. There's a lot more people that are becoming interested in backcountry skiing because the equipment is so much better than it was back in the 1980s and 1970s, even 1990s.